Refilwe Tsweni-Tsipane is the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces of the Republic of South Africa. She assumed this position in 2024. She graduated from Tshwane University of Technology with a qualification in Human Resources Management. From 2018 to 2024, she served as the Premier of Mpumalanga Province. She is actively engaged in advancing gender equality with a particular focus on improving the socio-economic status of women. Your Excellency, very glad to see you. Thank you for having time for our conversation.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me in your studio.
So you are visiting Moscow at the invitation of the chairwoman of the Federation Council of the Russian Federation. Valentina Matvienko emphasized that parliamentary diplomacy is an important tool for ensuring open dialogue among all interested parties. What role does this mechanism, in your view, play in strengthening cooperation between countries?
Well, certainly that's what she mentioned, Madam Matvienko, and it is a belief that we hold. Hence, we opted for this bilateral as a matter of agency so that we firm up and strengthen the historic relations that we had. In this case, they stem back as far back as 2014, where the Federal Council and the NCOP of the Republic of South Africa has signed a memorandum of understanding of matters of common interest so that we can pursue working together in harnessing and strengthening our oversight role as parliamentarians that we are playing. And therefore, we were here to say that let's move away from the broader approach, but rather zoom into a much more structured approach that will enable and ensure the implementation of the decision that we shall have taken through the cooperation that we have entered into between the two countries.
I see. Also, I wanted to mention that Valentina Matvienko noted that Russian senators are interested in strengthening cooperation with members of the National Council of Provinces within BRICS, G20, and other multilateral structures. What areas do you consider to be priorities in this dialogue?
Well, there are quite a number of issues that are a priority to us. One amongst the other issues that we need to fast track and facilitate are cooperation between your regions and as well as our provinces. Going back home, we'll have to facilitate those engagements such that we strengthen them and agree on areas of mutual interest amongst those regions and the provinces. Now, of essence is that looking at the Russia's economy and our economies, now one would have to facilitate and see how far can we stretch in terms of collaborating where we've got common interests, particularly in agriculture, agro-processing, trade, industry, technology, education, and health areas. So many sectors that we think that if Catherine, yes, is strong in agriculture and our provinces that are strong in agriculture can then sign a cooperation, a memorandum of understanding between them and strengthen those relations so that we grow our economies together. And equally, West South Africa provinces has something to offer to Russia, and we strengthen that.
As to the relations between South Africa and Russia, which precise South African Russian projects do you consider the most promising for the peoples of both countries?
Agriculture is our strength in South Africa, and you also have the same here. Agro-processing, mining sector is our strength, and you also have your own endowment as Russia. So basically it's about trading amongst ourselves and transfer of skills and expertise amongst our people. That would be important. Of course, the vocational training amongst the people of our countries would be critical at this point in time, so that we grow together. We have the same, more or less, operational model insofar as trade is concerned for both countries. So those areas to us, and of course energy. As South Africa, we have a position that we need to have mixed energy, and therefore it speaks to a number of ways of energy production. So we see Russia playing a role in that respect as well, to assist on us augmenting on the current supply that we are having. Of course, the issue of water technologies, it's another opportunity, in my view, that presents an opportunity for South Africa to learn from you and send people to learn the expertise so that we are able to modernize the water provision back home using the technological methodology as opposed to traditional way of doing things. So of course there are quite a number of similarities, issues that we think that are of common interest that we can strengthen and grow working together.
As to the mining sector that you already mentioned, this sector is also actively developing in South Africa. I wanted to mention that Kenny Morlong emphasized that South Africa has an opportunity to shift from the role of a supplier of raw materials to a hub for industrial value creation and innovation. And how can engagement with BRICS help the continent on this path?
As South Africa, our attitude and our position at this point in time is to say that we must do away, if not minimize, abstraction of our mineral resources, and then we export them for refinery and ultimately the final product. Now we want the production cycle, the entire product value chain system be concentrated within our shores, because that presents an opportunity of creating many job opportunities for our young people and as well as women and men in South Africa. That has a potential of injecting much more revenue within our country, and therefore whatever that we export, it should be in a form of an end product. So basically, even if the investors, as they come into our shores, we encourage them to say that let it not be about extracting our minerals and from then you then export them for further processing, but rather have a concentrated value chain system within the country. And we are happy Russia is also doing business there, but their focus is more or less aligned to the thinking and the position of South Africa in terms of extraction and refine those products before they're exported elsewhere. That's what we are emphasizing, so that a lot of concentration in terms of mineral resources, it happens, the circulation, it's within the country as well, in terms of the final production.
I see what you mean. As to the power of the countries of the Global South, it is increasingly heard opinion today that these countries will set the pace of global economic growth in the coming decades. What place does South Africa occupy in the new architecture of international relations?
Well, as South Africans, we see ourselves playing a very critical role in a number of areas. One of the areas, as I have indicated, has to do with the mining sector. And the other area that we think we can play a very meaningful role has to do with energy, as well as the agricultural sector. So that's what we are mainly strong on as South Africa as a country, and particularly in our respective provinces. But not only that as well, we are saying we have human capital that can be of use. We're investing and injecting more money into upscaling our people so that they can compete competitively in the global arena in terms of the necessary skills that are required in terms of the labor market. So that gives us an added advantage and remain compatible to and adaptive to the new changing world of doing things.
Also, the countries of the Global South are putting forward initiatives to reform international financial and political institutions. Which reforms do you consider most pressing?
Well, it's in the interest that our currencies, they are stronger, much more stronger, and quite resilient. We know that as a BRICS member, there is a move that we need to look at having our own currency. So South Africa is part of those discussions in that forum, and accordingly, once the decisions are being firmed up and decided upon, we'll take a policy position and also position ourselves, because of we are members of the family of BRICS as well, and therefore those reforms will then inform the policy position and also the enactment of enabling legislations so that we are compliant.
As to your personal career path, you've got extensive experience in governance, and also you've studied human resource management. What best practices from other BRICS countries could be useful for South Africa, and what the country might offer the grouping?
Well, what we think it's important for us at this point in time, in the forum, we have quite a number of progressive initiatives that will ensure sustainable development within the BRICS sister countries. But then what we then need to strengthen from that angle is the fast tracking of the implementation of the resolutions. And one other aspect, we need to acknowledge and appreciate that the world is becoming younger and younger. The initiatives and the innovative ideas of young people, it is of essence within the BRICS family. Now, creating a platform for young people to participate meaningfully within that platform, it will present an opportunity for diverse views and ideas and opportunities that might prevail. So in my view, we really need to strengthen those areas and ensure that those political decisions that have been taken, they then translate into policy and legislative processes within our parliaments, and monitoring of its implementation. It's very, very critical. I think that's an area of concern that needs to be strengthened.
You became the first female premier of Mpumalanga province in 2018,
yes,
and held this position for 6 years. As far as I can figure out, for you, gender equality is not just a slogan, but one of the main focuses of your political work. How do you assess BRICS' efforts in this area?
In South Africa, we are not apologetic about ensuring 50-50 representation from all aspects, be it in government, private sector, and everywhere people engage and interface in dialogues and progressive discussions that takes us forward. We do have a policy that speaks to affirmative action, and we have since advanced even to affirmative action, calling for competitive, capable women who can take our country forward. And South Africa is a lived experience, not only us, but other countries within Africa. They are moving towards that direction as well, and some are still following from behind, but there is a concerted effort and an attitude that as we progress moving forward, women must take a center stage in terms of the development and the sustainability program of their countries. Because, yeah, for a simple reason, of course, women have demonstrated that capacity from their households, how they manage their households, their husbands, their children, and the workplace, their families, and to some extent of even taking care of the management of the house contents. That is indicative of women's capability of multitasking, at the same time doing a whole lot of diverse things within the household, and therefore it will not be difficult with those expertise being trained at an early age, and they are naturally inherent within women. So it is possible for women to do everything that comes their way. It takes a willpower and a political will to shift and turn the tide towards that direction. So therefore, ours is to encourage our sisters within the BRIC family to emulate and advocate and endorse leading women leadership in strategic position. Look at Madam Medviango. She's quite a very seasoned, astute politician and government and administrator. You know, she has done quite a sterling work, and the whole lot of experience that she has accumulated over decades, I'm sure they are being well appreciated and respected by the people of Russia. So, and primarily not because of she is a woman, but she's there, and she took advantage of the work that has been bestowed before her, and she ran with it to better the lives of the people of Russia. So women has what it takes, and they are committed in the work that they are doing. So in South Africa, we are not apologetic. Everything that is being put on the table, first thing that we look at, where are women here? Where are young people here? So it comes natural, and it is respected by our male counterpart.
It's a pleasure to hear these words from you. Your Excellency, how does your experience as a premier of Mpumalanga province help you better understand the needs of regions and represent them at the national level?
Well, being a premier, it was an honor and a privilege that has been bestowed to me by my party, the African National Congress, and it has opened an opportunity for me to understand how governance processes work. Not only that, but I had a background from the legislative side to understand how parliamentary systems work. And therefore, that has laid a very solid foundation for me to understand both sides of the operation system, and how do they interface, and how do we then ensure that we work together in collaboration to strengthen one another, not to compete with one another without even encroaching in other spheres' mandate, but in the end, we are representing the people of South Africa and the community at large. And therefore, these two spheres of government are very crucial in making sure that the priorities as set out are being realized, and the people does enjoy that. So as a parliamentarian, you then become a voice of those people representing their aspiration. As government, you are therefore expected to go and implement the priorities that you shall have set yourself, measure the milestones that you have achieved, and there are checks and balance on the other side in terms of legislatures, where you give account as to how far have we gone, if there are challenges that you encounter, and how best can they be resolved to the betterment and the satisfaction of the communities. So that has laid a solid foundation, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity that has been given to me by my party, the African National Congress, having served in those spheres. So it gave me a broader scope of how government works. And not only that, of course, we also have judiciary, by the way. So we've got the three arms of states. In my capacity as the chairperson, I do sit in the Judiciary Commission as well and participate there. And that in its own, it gives me an opportunity to understand precisely how judiciary works, as opposed to it having been read in the Constitution, but you are in active participation in ensuring that it operates efficiently without any interference by any sphere of government. So that presented an opportunity for me to have a broader understanding of how all systems work within a government. And being female myself and Madam Speaker, Togo Titiza, being the heads of the parliamentary sector, and our president being the head of executive, and you have Madam Maya, the Chief Justice, being the head of judiciary system, it puts us in a position that we need to support one another, collaborate with one another in a way of trying to strengthen each other's work without encroaching and interfering on each other's work.
Finally, I wanted to mention that in 2027, the National Council of Provinces celebrates its 30th anniversary. What do you consider to be the top priorities for the upper house of Parliament?
Well, the priority for the celebration to us, one is to make sure that we continue to advocate and champion the interests of our provinces. And we also have to make sure that the policy decisions at the national level, do they represent the views of the provinces, and to what extent are they impacting to the provinces? Because yes, they may be there, but only to find that they don't correlate with what is happening on the ground, and also the municipalities. And therefore, for us, that is of interest to make sure that we strengthen people-to-people relations within our legislative sector, and ensure that there is accountability. The voice of provinces and that of local government is heard in real terms and within the national sphere of government, because everything happens at the local government, and therefore that synergy, it's very important. So our roles is very strategic. So we are the only house that is able to summon all three spheres of government into one place, and we speak, have a common approach towards each matters, having common implementation plan within government, and we then determine the mechanisms in terms of monitoring and evaluation of the work that is before us. So that is a strength for the house that I am leading, and that collaboration is very important. So in terms of the integration of the work of government across all three spheres of government.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for this significant dialogue.
Thank you so much, much appreciated. And I must say it has been a pleasure being here in Russia, we've learned quite a lot. We've seen quite a number of things that we think taking them home and deliberate through our committees as well will assist in developing certain areas and aspects within our country. We really appreciate the opportunity that has been presented by Madam Medvianko to us, having to share our experiences, to learn from Russia. And for that, we are saying, let our friendship grow from strength to strength as South Africa and Russia. Spasibo.
Spasibo. Looking forward to your visiting Russia again.
We're certainly going to do that, and I know that in 2027 the Speaker is coming to meet with the State of Duma. That invitation has been extended to her, and she has warmly welcomed, and then she would be coming shortly in 2027, so that we take these discussions forward, working together with your good selves.
Goals, dreams, moving forward. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. No one can tell about us better than ourselves. Watch the block of programs of TV BRICS International Network on Umtala TV, South Africa.